Let me get into terror financing, and then I'll come to the OSW you talked about.
Yeah.
For you, successive administrations have paid lip service to unmasking prominent Nigerians allegedly financing terror and oil theft. Why do you hold this view? Allegedly so. And do you know, I mean, one would ask whether you know them. If true, what do you think is responsible for the past administration's attitude, regarding this so-called financiers of terror?
Okay, thank you very much again for this brilliant question. Now, let me, relate to my experience, right, as the commander of the Operation Service Wide, which was an intelligence-driven outfit. Now, like I said, we picked the main leaders and other facilitators, financiers, sponsors, and then we commenced investigation.
By picked, you mean you arrested?
Arrested, captured, arrest. Now we picked them. That is, it was a collaborative effort. Those elements that I mentioned, and investigation was ongoing, and the investigation team was made up of representatives from the Department of State Services, from the Defense Intelligence Agency, from the military police, that's the army aspect of it, from the NFIU, the investigation, and it revealed so much. And like I earlier said, right, certain intelligence was shared. We were collaborating with about 33 countries in Europe, Western Europe, Asia, and other distant were collaborating with us and distant. Now, in the course of the investigation, I mean, we stumbled upon names of individuals, prominent individuals, and some of them are still prominent, and including the owner of an airline who was ferrying weapons allegedly for Boko Haram and other reasons. So those information, we took our concern, made our concern known, the investigation in terms of interim listening to the powers that be at the time. And some of those people were linked to even cabinet ministers. Some of the people were even arrested. Some of the people who were investigating were linked to them. Were linked to senior military retired now of generals and the rest, linked to many prominent distinct. And in the course of our investigation, I mean, we now, let me just add also, we had 3 representatives from the Attorney Generals of the Federation Office, that's Minister of Justice, that were with us to guide us while we were making the case, so that because ultimately the Office of the Attorney General was to prosecute
those you arrest.
Right. Now, but as the thing progressed, I mean, we started noticing some kind of how should I put it? We noticed some kind of hesitation. I mean, things started coming up like, okay, some of these people, I mean, it would be difficult to pin terrorism financing on them, perhaps money laundering. I mean, look, then you started getting some calls that some people, prominent that you should release, so person is not this and that, something, this. As the commander, I made my concern known to the president, late President Muhammad Buhari. I made it when I said, so listen, and I recall on one occasion, he stood up, very angry. He said, General, I appointed you as the commander of Operation Service Wide. You report to me and to me alone. That was his exact words to me. General Muhammad Buhari, a great man. I mean, of course, he had his shortcomings. I was very angry when the whole thing happened, and I mean, he didn't even raise a finger to this thing. But I later came to realize, that perhaps he was misled.
This is one of those stories. It concerns a secret investigation once launched with the full authority of a sitting president a probe that promised to expose terrorism financiers and cripple the networks feeding Boko Haram's brutality. And it concerns a retired army general, Major General Ali-Keffi, whose attempts to follow the leads wherever they went allegedly placed him on a collision course with some of the most powerful people in Nigeria. Now, at this point, if you're just joining us, please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss important stories like this. But let's begin from the start. The year was 2021. Boko Haram attacks were still leaving families shattered across the northeast. Communities were tired, troops were overstretched, and the government, under President Muhammadu Buhari, faced increasing pressure to show results. In a bid to strike at the financial heart of terrorism, Buhari approved a covert multi-agency operation called Operation Service-Wide, OSW. The man chosen to lead it was no stranger to tough assignments. Major General Ali-Keffi, then serving as the general officer commanding one division of the Nigerian army. His task was simple but dangerous: identify the masterminds, expose their sponsors, and shut down the money pipelines keeping Boko Haram alive. Working closely with the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, or NFIU, the team began to trace suspicious financial movements. And for a moment, there was hope, genuine hope, that something big was about to happen. But here's where the story gets deeper.
In March 2021, OSW made several high-profile arrests. These were not random people plucked from the streets. They were individuals with massive financial footprints, including bureau de change operators, whose activities raised red flags. Using data from the NFIU, investigators tracked money flows that appeared to link directly to terrorism financing. The work was painstaking. Each lead was another step into a maze of accounts, associates, offshore trails, and coded transactions. In September 2021, the findings were taken directly to President Buhari during a closed-door briefing led by the NFIU. Inside that room were senior figures, including then Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya. According to General Ali-Keffi, that meeting changed everything. He said that soon after the report was presented, he received a piece of information that shook him. The NFIU director reportedly told him that several of the suspects in custody had links to powerful Nigerians. 2 suspects linked to former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai. 2 suspects linked to former Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami SAN. 1 suspect linked to former CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele. Another is linked to General Farouk Yahaya. Ali-Keffi insisted he never accused these men of knowingly funding terrorism. Rather, NFIU's intelligence said the suspects were connected to them through business dealings, especially the BDC networks often used as cover for darker transactions. But once those connections emerged, the atmosphere shifted. As we continue, please like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us share important stories responsibly.
Just weeks after the explosive briefing, something unexpected happened. On October 18, 2021, Ali-Keffi was summoned to the headquarters of the military police in Abuja. He went in calmly, believing it was a routine invitation. Instead, he was detained. Hours passed, then days, then weeks. He remained locked up for 64 days without charges, without queries, and without trial, military or civilian. Eventually, he received a letter, not of accusation, but of compulsory retirement. Till today, I don't know my offense, he said. Outside the detention facility, Abuja carried on as usual. But inside, the man who once led thousands of soldiers was left alone, wondering how an operation meant to serve the nation had instead turned into a trap for him. Let's pause and think about the human side for a moment. Imagine being tasked with dismantling terror networks, only to be detained by the same institution you served faithfully for decades. Imagine watching the evidence of months of work disappear behind politics and power. It is the kind of emotional wound that sits deep. Now, at this point, if you haven't yet, please like this video and subscribe. Among the arrests, one stood out. An international suspect, Abubakar Malami, was found to control an offshore account containing about $600 million. OSW traced it through NFIU and alerted the United States. The US FIU immediately froze the account. But what happened next reads like a scene from an undercover crime drama. Ali-Keffi said the NFIU director later informed him that a representative of Malami approached Nigerian authorities with a jaw-dropping offer, $50 million. The deal was simple. Nigeria should tell the Americans that it had no issues with the funds, prompting the Americans to unfreeze the account. Ali-Keffi refused. But after his detention and removal, he was told that the Nigerian government eventually wrote to the US requesting the unfreezing of the account. This was for many Nigerians the point where faith in accountability began to crumble. OSW had secured strong evidence to charge 48 suspects with terrorism financing. But according to Ali-Keffi, powerful forces began pushing for the charges to be changed to money laundering, which would transfer the case to the EFCC, an agency then under the political influence of the Attorney General's office. He refused. A senior female prosecution lawyer working with OSW also refused. She was suddenly removed. Court orders needed to seize assets were never requested. Only detention orders were filed. It became clear, he said, that the presidency and officials wanted to kill the investigation. It's the kind of development that makes communities wonder. If terrorism financing cases can be derailed, what hope is there for justice? As we continue, please like this video and subscribe. When Ali-Keffi was finally released and retired, the operation stopped breathing. The top 20 suspects, along with others arrested, were reportedly released quietly. No charges were filed, no court appearances, no accountability. An insider later told him that the suspects were warned, "Do not speak to the media, do not file lawsuits, forget the 9 months you spent in detention." For people in communities terrorized by insurgents, these revelations felt like a punch to the chest. How could a probe that started with so much promise just vanish? Perhaps the most chilling revelation was the existence of a list, over 400 names, of people to be arrested or neutralized. The list included smugglers, financiers, collaborators, couriers, and middlemen whose activities kept the insurgency alive. Among the names was Abubakar Shekau, Boko Haram's most feared commander. "We couldn't arrest Shekau, so we engineered what happened to him," Ali-Keffi said. Those familiar with counter-terror operations will understand what that implies. When news of Ali-Keffi's revelations broke, public reactions ran deep. In Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, regions that have suffered the most, people expressed pain mixed with disbelief. Local leaders questioned how terrorism, which destroyed families and villages, could become entangled with politics. In Abuja, civil society organizations demanded inquiries. Human rights activists said their allegations confirmed their fears about internal sabotage in Nigeria's security architecture. Military families, many who lost loved ones in the war, were heartbroken. Some asked whether soldiers died fighting enemies whose sponsors were protected at home. Now, at this point, please like this video and subscribe, because stories like this must reach more Nigerians. This is not just a story about one man's ordeal. It is a story about how terrorism survives, how corruption undermines national security, how powerful individuals can influence investigations, how institutions can fail in moments that matter most. Nigeria's fight against terrorism has always been complicated. But if the allegations are true, it means our biggest battles are not only in Sambisa Forest or Lake Chad Basin, but also in conference rooms, government offices, and banking networks. From everything Ali-Keffi shared, one message stands out. Nigeria cannot defeat terrorism if terrorism financiers are protected. To move forward, the country needs 1. Independent security investigations not controlled by political forces. 2. Transparent financial tracking of suspicious accounts. 3. Protection for whistleblowers and investigators. 4. Strengthened laws on terrorism financing. And 5. Public awareness and cooperation, because communities are often the first to notice suspicious movements. And above all, Nigeria needs leaders who put national security above personal networks. Nigeria's history is filled with stories of bravery, soldiers in the field, civilians helping victims, communities rebuilding after attacks. But bravery is also needed within the system itself. Major General Ali-Keffi's story, whether seen as a whistleblower's testimony or a cry for justice, forces the nation to look inward. As citizens, we must stay aware, ask questions, and refuse to let stories like this fade away. Please like this video and subscribe. Your support helps us share important stories responsibly. And as we close, let's reflect. A nation can only defeat enemies in the shadows when it refuses to keep its truth in the shadows too. Let's stay alert, let's stay informed, let's stay united for the safety of every Nigerian.